Ladies and gents, now I tried. Um, some things came up. I tried giving you guys the video. For those who don't know, every time there's always a big kind of event in boxing, a big fight, I like to give my analysis and my prediction and my reasoning as to why I think a fighter is going to not only win but win a certain way. And it's a way for you guys to keep me in check. You know, that way, if I ever, for whatever reason, try to pretend like I was right when I was wrong, you guys could fact check me easy. Now, I couldn't do one for this fight for the event between Tyson Fury and mahkmudov, but here I am making the aftermath video. Like I said, I'm very sorry. I tried, but some stuff came up and couldn't get around it, so I figured I might as well just spend my time and energy on the aftermath video instead. So the first fight of the night was actually one hell of a way to begin the night. I mean, Justice Hooney versus Fraser Clark was tremendous, but Hooney bounced back, is real. Justice Hooney has now improved his record to 13 victories, 7 of them by knockout, 1 defeat, 0 losses. The judges' scoring was that two judges scored it in favor of Justice Hooney of 96-94, and the third judge viewed it 95-95 draw, giving it a majority decision victory for Justice Hooney after facing his first career loss to the hands of Fabio Wardley back in June of 2025. Now, the interesting thing about this fight is that both men, their last time that they lost was against um, Fabio Wardley. So they had both suffered a crushing um, knockout defeat against the same individual who is now world champion and going to defend his world champion belt against a very tough opponent in Daniel Dubois in about 2 weeks, three, yeah, 2 3 weeks around there. So stay tuned for that. Or I may be tripping, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. Thing is, it was a good back and forth fight. It was a fucking entertaining fight. Like, there's no, there's very few times where I've had a opening night fight, like the fight that's supposed to be the main. It's supposed to be the first fight for the card. Supposed to get people, ready to begin the event, and already have me at my edge of my seat and kind of thinking to myself, how is it going to get even better than this? The only time I could remember something like that was, I think it was like 2 years ago or 1 year ago, when uh, Artur Beterbiev fought that Dimitri Bivol, and we had that super car where we had like uh, Shakur versus Schofield. We had like uh, Parker versus like Bacoli and stuff like that. And the opening fight was Smith versus Erole or something like that. And it was just an incredible first fight to start the evening. And yeah, this reminded me of that. I was just already thinking to myself, how is this the first fight of the night, and how are we going to top this? How are we going to go from here? But nonetheless, it was a good decision. I think you could make the argument that it could have been a draw, but in my opinion, I think the perfect um the perfect scoring of this fight was 96-94. It was just Hooney barely came out of there with the victory just because he was a little bit more slicker than Clark. He was a little bit better with his punch selection. He was orchestrating a little bit more combinations than Clark was. Clark would land like one or two punches. Hooney would respond with three or four. consistently throughout the fight. So that's why I feel like he was taking um some rounds above Clark. It wasn't that Clark was doing bad either. Clark looked phenomenal in my opinion. For those who don't know, Clark has a new team. So this was his first fight with his new team, and he looked phenomenal. He looked great. He looked better than he ever has. He's never looked this good, in my opinion. But it just wasn't enough for Hooney. Hooney, not by a lot, but was enough. Like I said, he was just slightly more slicker in evading and blocking punches that Clark was throwing at him. He was a little bit better with his punch selection. And like I said, anytime Clark landed 1 to 2 hits, Hooney would either before or after getting hit would have hit Clark with 3 to 4 punches. So it was just normal that he was going to be victorious. But what should Hooney look after? What should the future hold for somebody like Hooney? In my opinion, after scourging the rankings, after looking at the list of the heavyweights and Hooney at his level, in order to keep scaling above, I think these are the guys. I think these are some of the two best decisions he could make, in my opinion. To your left, you have Derek Chisora, who is 36 victories, 23 of them by knockout, 14 defeats, 0 draws. Now, I know what you could be saying. Didn't he retire? He just fought Wilder, and he said Wilder's his last fight, yada yada. And you'll be right. But then he went to the event. He went to watch the fight in person. The Fury mahkmudov. He went to the whole event, and he was wearing a shirt that said "Retirements for Pussies," and he said he wants to run it back with Wilder. Now, in my opinion, with everything going on with AJ, Fury, and Wilder, and all that, and all their names being mixed together, I think it's more probable that Wilder is going to fight the likes of Anthony Joshua next, or somebody else before he even decides to get in the ring with Chisora again. So if Chisora isn't going to retire and he can get the fight with Wilder, I don't see why not have a shot at Hooney. If he could defeat someone like Hooney at this stage of Hooney's career, it shows that Chisora is still in the conversation to give any of these guys a tough fight, and that he's still open for bigger fights. But if Hooney beats him, then that should show Chisora that maybe he should retire for real, and that shows us that Hooney's out here. Especially if Hooney could stop someone like Chisora, who hasn't really been stopped, and he's fought in several tough opponents, and very few of them, even the 14 times he's lost, I think only like 2 or 3 of them he was stopped, and I think 1 or 2 of those times were TKO. He wasn't knocked out cold. So yeah, I personally think if Hooney could go out there and dominate him, it would be good 10 rounds for Hooney. But if Hooney can knock him out, that would be one hell of a statement for Hooney's career, which he should be getting at this stage of his career. And like I said, that shows Chisora that he should probably retire. And if he wins, well, that shows that he's still in here, and it shows Hooney he needs a lot to learn. But the man to your right is Martin Bakole, ranked number 5 for the Ring magazine. He is currently with 21 victories, 16 of them by knockout, 2 defeats, 1 draw. He was once considered the boogeyman of the division. In my opinion, a boogeyman is somebody who is supremely dangerous towards anybody, even the top guys at the division. The boogeyman is somebody who he has a high chance of victory, whether it's 50-50, but your chances of beating them are not in your favor, or if they are, not by much. But also at the same time, he's not that well known. He won't give you the bag that you will get for the work you're going to have to put in the gym and in the fight in order to be victorious against Martin Bakoli. That's what I consider a boogeyman, and he was that guy. Boogeyman in the sense that he could hurt and knock out anybody, but he wasn't popular enough to where you're gonna want to risk your neck fighting someone like that for money. For money, you could get the same amount of money that you were gonna fight Martin Bakoli to fight some other chump and not face the same amount of risk. That's what I'm referring to. Now, he obviously got more of that title of boogeyman and more popularity when he knocked out Jared Anderson. But then some time passed. Nobody wanted to fight him. Parker agreed to fight him. Martin Bakoli, last minute replacement between Parker and Dubois. Dubois got sick. Martin Bakoli said, I'll do it. Parker was like, I'll take him on. Parker beats him TKO, but that's nothing too impressive in the sense that Martin Bakoli wasn't training. He came in over 300 pounds. He just said, fuck it, I'll go in there, and he got stopped. Mainly because he was getting hit too much in the body and he was exhausted. He wasn't training. But after that, a little bit of time passed by, and he fought, and he had a draw where he didn't look good back in May of 2025, and he hasn't fought since, and there hasn't been any announcement for him since. So if he wants to return to the little bit of fame and danger and positioning and dominance that Bakoli had when he defeated Jared Anderson, uh, I think Hooney will give him that. I think if he defeats someone like Hooney the same way he defeated Jared Anderson, Martin Bakoli will be in the talks again, in the conversation again for big fights, and will be a little bit harder to avoid, like he is right now, or like he was when he defeated Jared Anderson. And if Hooney could stop Bakoli, that's a big thing. Like I said, Martin Bakoli is ranked number 5 for the Ring magazine, so he could beat a guy who's ranked like number 5 or 6, something like that. Once considered the boogeyman of the division, that would do a lot of things for Hooney. That would do a lot of great things for Hooney. It's a good fight for Hooney. I think it's a very beatable fight for Hooney as well. If he could start implementing if he could use his skills and his technicism that he was using against Wardley, but be a little bit more precautious and be a little bit more like being precautious and taking care of himself, but adding at least one punch to his combinations, then I think he could even stop Bakoli, but we'll see till then. That's what I think Justice Hooney should do. Now, the next fight was another heavyweight bout, and the Midnight Train runs over TKV. I mean, this was just holy fuck. I'm going to just call him Rhea. I always fuck up his name, so I'm going to just call him Rhea. But Rhea, his improved record is now 20 victories, 16 of them by knockout, 1 defeat, 0 draws. The fight result was a 5th round TKO stoppage by the ref against TKV. TKV was just getting fucked up. But with this victory, Rhea became a 2-time, 2-weight division British champion. For those who don't know, Rhea was a top contender at the cruiserweight level. He became the only significant title that he got at cruiserweight was the British title. He won the British title, and the biggest fight of his life so far was against Callum Smith, who is the WBO world champion at cruiserweight, and he lost. That's his only defeat. After that, he said that he couldn't do cruiserweight anymore. He couldn't make the limit of 200 pounds, that he was starving himself, that he was working out a lot, starving himself 2 days prior to getting weight in order to make the weight. It was just too much for his body. He had to listen, so he went up to heavyweight. He had 2 fights in heavyweight. Just some random dudes getting used to the weight. And then, as a step up, they were like, what if you go for the British title in heavyweight? It's against TKV. For those who don't know, TKV got popular because he beat Fraser Clark in a fight that they thought Fraser Clark was going to win pretty comfortably. but TKV beat him. He dropped him. He dropped Fraser Clark twice in the 11th round, and then won the 12th round. And that combination just helped them win a very close, very close matchup. And but I don't know. He just looks so weird this fight. He looks so just unprepared. He looked ill trained. Like he looked like he did not train properly whatsoever for this fight. He looked like he didn't really have a plan. And if his coaches did have a plan, he was either too tired or too stubborn to implement the plan that they gave him. But yeah, this is just. I mean, go watch the fight for yourself. I'll probably give him like a good round or two, like the first 1-2 rounds. But it was just like even then those rounds where you could give one of them to TKB, he was just looking bad. He was just looking terrible. And then, he got dropped in the fifth round. And then when he got up, he got hit again, and ref thought it was enough. Some people could say it was premature, which is true, but at the same time, you got to look at it from the eyes of the ref. This guy for 5 rounds straight has shown you nothing but fucking culo, fucking nothing burger of a performance. And he's getting beat up. One thing is to perform terribly. You're not doing nothing good. But then another thing is to add to that nothing burger of a performance of you getting fucked up. Like I said, a jab 1-2 dropped him. And TKV is not looking exhausted. I mean, Rhea, he's not looking tired. He's looking pretty good. Like he's barely getting higher than warmed up. He's getting in the rhythm of stuff. He's getting comfortable with his punches, and his punch selections and his combinations that he's choosing to do. And meanwhile, TKV looks slower. He's looking more frustrated. He's looking exhausted. Like I said, he looked like he didn't have a plan. And if the coaches did have a plan, he looked like he was either too exhausted or they didn't give a fuck to implement it. And he was just getting fucked up. You're in the fifth round and you look like you already fought 8-9 rounds. In both your conditioning and in your face being all fucked up and bloody. So when you get dropped and then you don't really look too good after you got up and you get hit with a pretty good little light 2-3 punch combination, I don't kind of blame the ref for stopping it, It's like, what the fuck is this fool gonna show me? He has done nothing, nada, like nothing burger. So yeah, it was a kind of too fast. At the same time, you gotta see it from his eyes. He's seen this dude do nothing for 5 rounds. Looked like he already fought 9-10 rounds, and the other guy's just getting comfortable being in the rhythm of beating this guy up. I'm not gonna let him continue. But with that being said, what should be the next stop for the midnight train? Well, in my opinion, these are the two best options for him. To your left, you may have this guy kind of in your memory, kind of not, but this is Jared Anderson. 18 victories, 15 of them by knockout, 1 defeat, 0 draws. This guy was famous. He was considered the future of heavyweight boxing here in the U.S. alongside Richard Torres Jr. They were both signed with Top Rank. They were both, like I said, considered the future of heavyweight boxing for the U.S., but Anderson was viewed a little bit higher than Torres because Torres is somebody who is very small and short and light in weight compared to Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson looks like your stereotypical big boy heavyweight. So he was the eyes were more on him to be the future and represent the U.S. in heavyweight. Especially like the likes of Deontay Wilder now. At that time when Jared Anderson was coming up, Wilder was already getting fucked up by Parker, Billy Zhang. So he was definitely the future. He won 17 victories without 17 victories without being defeated. He also hold the NFBF belt and the WBO International belt in the heavyweight division before he faced his first and only defeat so far against the hands of Martin Bakoli, like I said earlier in the video. But that was back in August, homie. That was back in August of 2024 in the undercard of Crawford versus Madrimov when Crawford moved up to 154 to challenge uh, Israel Madrimov WBA world champion at 154. Like that was ages ago, homie. So yeah, but 6 months after defeating getting defeated by Martin McCauley, he had a comeback fight against a nothing burger of a fucking of an opponent, some random fool who had like 12 victories and like two defeats, zero draws, and like some knockouts, like 7 or 8 knockouts. Like it was just a nothing fool. And Jared went the distance with that fool. He went 10 rounds with him. He won by unanimous decision, but he went 10 rounds with a nothing burger of an opponent. You know, that fool didn't provide anything. It was just obviously that they wanted Jared Anderson to get his like confidence boost back by knocking out somebody. But yeah, and ever since then he hasn't fought. It's probably because that was his last fight with Top Rank, and Top Rank didn't seem too hot and wanting to re-sign him and keep promoting him and trying with him. So yeah, but we did get good news about his future in that Queensberry decided to sign him and add him to their incredible roster of heavyweights. And he does have a fight scheduled for May 9th. So in about a little bit less than a month, he will be fighting his first fight since February of 2025 and his first fight with the promotional company of Queensberry. Now, if he gets through that, I don't see why not get him in the ring with a British champion. Obviously, Anderson can become the British champion, but I'm saying someone of the level of British champion in Rhea. You know, have him fight that fool. That will show if he's still got it in him, and that would also help Rhea in his career to beat someone like Jared Anderson. The guy to your right, his name is Guido Villanueva. 14 victories, 12 by knockout, 3 defeats, 1 draw. He doesn't really have too much of an impressive record, but he does have an impressive win. Now, Guido was, you know, he was kind of like okay, doing a good average rise in the heavyweight division, you know, knocking out dudes here and here, little low level guys. And then in a bounce back fight with Makhmudov, after Makhmudov lost, I forgot who he lost against. I think it was that German dude. Fuck, he's the WC interim title holder. I forgot his name, but he lost against him. They wanted a bounce back fight, and they gave him Guido, and Guido beat him. Guido, he beat Makhmudov in a 10 round bout. He beat him in 8 rounds. He TKO'd him in 8 rounds. The doctor had no other option but to close the close. He had no other option but to stop the fight due to Makhmudov's eye being closed. Like it was just so swollen and closed up, and they had no other option but to save Makhmudov and save his health by stopping the thing. So that was his biggest fight of Guido's career, and it was his biggest moment ever. Well, Top Rank wanted to prove the other heavyweight prospect that they had in Richard Torres Jr., so they said, hey, this guy just beat Makhmudov, who's a respectable heavyweight. If Torres, our prospect, can beat him, then our boy's going to look good in Richard Torres Jr. So his next fight was a main event fight with Richard Torres Jr. back in October 11th of 2025. I mean, sorry, he after Makhmudov, they got him the Richard Torres Jr. fight, and he lost. He didn't look too good. He couldn't deal with the quick, short, agile speed of Richard Torres Jr. and he was just looking frustrated. He kept hugging Richard, despite Guido being the bigger, heavier, like just dude in general. He was the one hugging. He was the one engaging in clinching. And before you knew it, it was just the fight. The rounds were just slipping away from Guido, and he went the distance and lost via unanimous decision to Richard Torres Jr. But he did have a comeback fight after that in October 11th of 2025. I was getting my shit mixed up right there. My bad. Where he fought for the WBC Continental Americas belt, and he won it. He won it in under 5 rounds via TKO victory. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think someone who's like a Continental Americas NABF like level fighter is the same kind of thing as a British holder. You know, the British title holder is kind of at the same level as an NABF Continental Americas Latino champ for the WBO. Like that level is kind of similar. So why not put him against Guido? Like I said, Guido has the history of fighting someone the likes of Richard Torres Jr. Guido has the history of beating someone like mahkmudov in 8 rounds. Like he beat him worse than Tyson Fury beat him. So, you know, you have Guido, who's also currently a Continental America for the WBC. He won in under 5 rounds. Why not fight him? I think that would do a lot of things for the Midnight Train, you know, to be someone like Guido and continue to rise up in the rankings and get bigger and better fights. Now, little curveball, but I just couldn't get this out of my mind. I think you guys deserve it after I promised you guys the video on Friday and I couldn't get you guys the video, so I added this to the video that you're going to be watching right now. But for those who don't know, Frazer Clarke and Jermaine TKV, Jamie TKV, my bad, they fought before. They were fighting in the same night, but they fought each other before. Now, Frazer Clarke is currently, after his defeat to Justice Huni, is standing at a record of 9 victories, 7 of them by KO, 3 defeats, 1 draw. And TKV, after his defeat to the Midnight Train, is now 9 victories, 5 of them by KOs, 3 defeats, 0 draws. The last time these fools fought was back in November 29th of last year, where in a really, really tough back and forth fight, pretty exciting fight, back and forth. TKV got the decision victory because in the 11th round he dropped Frazer Clarke twice, and then he arguably won the 12th round. And that combination of dropping him twice in the 11th and winning the 12th got him the victory. TKV was also like the underdog in that fight, and he overcame. That's why a lot of people thought that it wasn't a good idea to put him as the underdog against the Midnight Train, but that proved otherwise. You know, Midnight Train beat him. But TKV just lost. He's going to need a comeback fight. And Clarke should get another fight with his new team. Like I said, he got a new team. The best thing you want to do when you get a new team is get fights in, get rounds with them. So you guys build a better bond together. You guys build a better connection and start flowing a lot better and a lot more comfortably. And plus, why not go? Plus, Clarke needs a bounce back fight too. What's a better thing than to go avenge your loss? You know, go beat TKV. Especially, like I said, Clarke looked better than I've ever seen him with his new team. So he looking way better. TKV looking like shit. Clarke needs rounds with his new team. He needs new fights with his team. He needs a comeback fight because he just lost to Justice Huni. He's looking super good. TKV looking like shit. And you could avenge your loss. It's the perfect fight for Frazer Clarke. It's the perfect fight right now to fight TKV. Fight him at the beginning of fall or at the end of summer. Beat him, and then we could start talking about other stuff like Jared Anderson, Guilo, not Italmo, but Tamura. Like, we could start talking about those level of guys after if he beats TKV. We could even talk about him getting in the ring with Midnight Train if he beats TKV, which would be a good fight for Frazer Clarke as well. So, in my opinion, I think this fight should happen. The rematch between them should happen. And if it does, I think basing off their last performances, Fraser Clark is going to definitely win, and he may even stop TKB this time. But moving on to the co-main event. Oh boy, what a fucking, oh man. So terrible performance for the Destroyer, aka Conor Benn. Speaking of, Conor Benn's improved record is now 25 victories, 14 of them by knockout, 1 defeat, 0 draws. He won via unanimous decision in a 10-round bout against Regis Prograis. For those who don't know, Conor Benn for 10 years, since the beginning of his career in the pros, had been with Matchroom Boxing. The rematch against Eubank Jr. was his final fight with the contract he has signed with Matchroom Boxing. And out of the blue, not only did he leave Matchroom Boxing, and not only did he go with Zuffa, but the way he left Matchroom for Zuffa was just out of the blue. No one saw it coming. It was breaking news. It was just so random and so like unexpected at all. So unexpected. But the thing was, he said that he didn't even want to give Eddie Hearn Matchroom a try. He said there was no way that they were going to top $15 million for one fight, especially when that fight was somebody who on paper was supposed to be as easy as Regis Prograis. And yeah, but then shit backfired. I mean, it was a very lackluster performance, in my opinion, from the younger, heavier, stronger fighter who struggled against a guy who is small for the weight, not natural to the weight class, never fought at the weight class at 147, let alone 150. He's at the back foot of his career. He even confessed that he had in his mind already retirement before this fight. He was scared to do this fight to the point where he almost canceled last minute on the day of the fight. And he had several injuries throughout camp. And yet he still managed to put up a performance like that against Conor Benn. Like I said, the younger, more fresh, less mileage, no injuries, heavier, more powerful and stronger fighter at the end of your career. It's just like, my hat's off to Regis Prograis. I have to give him his credit. I wish he could stick around. I would have had the perfect fight for him. But breaking news, if you don't know, he stated that that's it. He's retiring. That he couldn't write a better ending to his career than doing the performance that he did against Conor Benn. Which, yeah, in a way, I see it. He gave a hell of a good performance. He should be proud of himself. But this was not the statement that Conor Benn was hoping to have. Everybody was expecting the real outcome should have been Conor Benn gets in there, maybe has trouble for 2-3 rounds, but destroys him in 6 or 7 rounds and gets him out of there early. But instead, we got, in my opinion, I think it was a victory for Conor Benn, but it was a very tight one. I mean, we're talking about, I gave the first 3 rounds to Conor Benn. Then I gave round 4, 5, and 6 to Regis Prograis. Then I gave round 7 to Conor Benn. Then I gave round 8 to Regis Prograis. And then round 9 and 10, Conor Benn took them. And not by a long shot. So he did not go the distance. But at least he could say, oh, I went the distance, but I destroyed them for 10 rounds. It's like, nah, you didn't. You barely got the win. You know? And even in the rounds that you did win, there were still tough rounds for you. Regis Prograis was coming in there with some beautiful connection, counter punching, some beautiful shot selections. And he was doing a beautiful job to the body that I feel that a younger, stronger, heavier fighter like a Brian Norman Jr., like a Devin Haney, like a Ryan Garcia, like a Staniosis, if they did what Regis Prograis did to Conor Benn, I don't think Conor Benn lasts. I don't think Conor Benn could withstand that type of punishment. There were, I think it was like rounds 5 and 6 and even a little bit of 7 where Regis was just destroying Conor in the body. He would throw a combination of 3 or 4 punches and 2 of them would be at the body of Benn. So, yeah, I mean, hats off to Prograis. Got to go back to the drawing board for Conor Benn and his team. But there's a lot of talk. He's saying that he's coming back to 147. And for those who don't know, Ryan Garcia is the WBC world champion after defeating Mario Barrios. And the WBC has Conor Benn as their number one contender for the belt. Hence, if he could come back to the weight, he's the number one guy in line to fight the champion for the WBC belt at 147 pounds. So this is the future that holds off for Conor Benn, in my opinion, and these are the best things that he's doing. Number one, I don't think he should go in there with Ryan Garcia. After the performance he just had, he should not get in there with Ryan Garcia right after. My opinion, if I was his coaching and if I was his team, I would convince him to get the man on your left, Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez currently sitting at 22 victories, 13 of them by knockout, 2 defeats, 0 draws. Hasn't fought since his devastating loss to Shakur Stevenson this January. And look, the reason I pick Teofimo Lopez is because every ex-world champion that Conor Benn has faced has been someone that was either smaller than him, way out of their prime, or both. Regis Prograis, that one boxer that's now a commentator, Chris Algieri. So, and I think there's one more. But every every person he's fought and got in the ring with that once hold a world title, by the time he fought them, they were far away from their prime, and they were smaller than him. Either one of the two or both at the same time. Like Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis was far from his prime, already considering retirement, had several injuries throughout training camp, and he's a lighter guy. And yet he still pulled off a great 10-round performance against Conor Benn. So in my opinion, what Conor Benn needs is not only a performance where he looks good before going into a fight with Ryan or Haney or a world title fight, but he needs a victory over a credible ex-world champion. Somebody who isn't far from their prime. Somebody who isn't too small for him. Somebody who isn't a blatant pushover. Now, yes, Teofimo started his career at 135. He didn't even look big at 140, so don't expect him to look big at 147. But the still of the matter is, Teofimo has the skills. He has the resume. He has the ability to complicate and make a tough fight for Conor Benn despite his height, despite his weight advantage. And Teofimo Lopez isn't an old retired guy far from his prime. Just because he had a devastating loss against one of the greatest boxers right now, number 3 in the pound for pound, doesn't mean you're cooked and you're done and you're washed. He's still a good fighter and a tough fighter that you should be taking serious for anybody. So if he could beat someone who's still in age, in their prime, in their physical prime, and once held a world title, which Teofimo was, if you want to talk about politics, that's up to you, but he was technically not, undisputed and Ring Magazine world champion at 135, and he was 140-pound WBO world champion and Ring Magazine champion, two-weight division world champion, two-time two-weight division Ring Magazine world champion. So he has he has the resume, he has the experience. Plus, Teofimo also, in my opinion, should not be getting in the ring with the likes of Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia or Brian Norman Jr. before he tests out the waters at 147. In my opinion, he should get one fight, do the Boots Ennis thing, get a fight to test your body at the new weight class, and then after that victory, go to the moon. Go as far as high in the food chain that you want to go. If you want to go to the number one guy, which currently right now is Devin Haney, then go to him. But first test yourself. After that defeat that you suffered to Shakur, you haven't been to the weight class. There's a lot of drama going on. You should test your body. And I think someone like Conor Benn is the perfect thing of high profile fight, big money, not that dangerous for you, and it's a good way to test yourself. And like I said, if he wins, go fight a champion then. But I feel like this fight serves both Teofimo Lopez and Conor Van very well, especially in the positions that they are both currently in their careers. Now, if he wants to ignore that and he wants to implement his positioning as the number one ranked contender for the WBC at 147 pounds, then go fight Ryan Garcia. Currently sitting at 25 victories, 20 of them by knockout, 2 defeats, 0 draws. Just became WBC World Champ after defeating Mario Barrios. Uh, no fight has he's been calling out everybody, and he's been supposedly looking everywhere, but no fights turning up. I mean, Devin Haney's busy with doing and not doing the Rolly Romero fight. He also said that he wanted to do other fights. Rolly, if he doesn't do the fight with Haney, he has to do his mandatory, so that fight's out. Who knows what Lewis Crocker and his team got going around? He said he would fight Keyshawn Davis, but Keyshawn Davis is now already scheduled to fight Albright in a rematch at 140. Shakur Stevenson doesn't seem like he will be going up, and Ryan came to his senses, and he doesn't seem like he's going to go down to 140 to fight Shakur. So Ryan seems to have trouble right now. And Ryan did say he will fight Teofimo, but nothing's coming up. So, yeah, this is probably most likely going to be the collision course. Conor Benn versus Ryan Garcia around mid-fall, late fall, around that period, around September. So, we'll see for that. I personally think he shouldn't do that. Like I said, he should probably fight someone like Teofimo Lopez. But if he goes to Ryan, then oh well. That's his thing. Now, the main event. The Gypsy King is back, and he came with a vengeance for Big 3. Yeah, I mean, Fury's improved record is now 35 victories. 35 victories. 24 of them by knockout. 2 defeats, 1 draw. The fight result was a unanimous decision victory for Tyson Fury. Clear victory. I think 2 judges gave no rounds to Makhmudov, and 1 judge gave 1 round to Makhmudov, which is what I had. I think Makhmudov clearly being him, he's the most dangerous in the first 3, 4, maybe 5 rounds. And after that, he's just a nothing, no conditioning, no air, no nothing left in the tank. So the first few rounds are his most dangerous rounds to be in there with him. So yeah, I gave him the first round. I think Tyson, with a little bit of ring rust and dealing with such an aggressive, strong fighter, he didn't really do too hot in the first few rounds, especially in the first one. But after the first round, starting the second round and the beginning of the second round to the end of the 12th round, it was just completely Tyson Fury's fight. And I think he could have gotten them out of there if it wasn't for the constant bad habits of Makhmudov of just wanting to wrestle anytime he's in danger or he's tired, which is all the fucking time. So, and I think combining that with the ring rust and the age of Tyson Fury, I think that's why Makhmudov ended up surviving on his feet. But there were several moments where I thought Makhmudov was just going to, combine with the extreme exhaustion and the good countering and punch selection that Fury was coming up with, Makhmudov was going to fall. But, like I said, the wrestling and the combining that with the age and the ring rust of Tyson Fury, in my opinion, that allowed Makhmudov to survive. But he, like I said, he looked a little rusty, but he looked leagues above Makhmudov. Leagues above. He was just clearly above Makhmudov. We all knew this, but seeing it play out in person is obviously a lot better. He completely dominated him. And Fury clearly shown that even taking a year and a half off the ring at his age, that he is still a danger to anybody in the weight class. So that's just exciting things. But this is what has to happen this year. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. The battle of the Brits. Who is the best British boxer in the last generation of heavyweight boxers? Tyson Fury, with his current record of 35 victories, 24 of them by knockouts, 2 defeats, 1 draw, facing off against Anthony Joshua with 29 victories, 26 of them by knockout, 4 defeats, 0 draws. This match has like been in the making for 7 to 10 years. Like, it's just every year that's everything we've always wanted. Some years it just seems like it will never happen, and then I don't know, or some years it seems like we're about to get it, and then poof, another year without this fight. But I do have to say, maybe I'm sipping on some copium. Maybe I'm just, I'm just being delusional. But I really do believe we're the closest we've ever been to actually getting this fight. With Turkey Alot coming around, with Anthony Joshua still being hungry for some good fights, and to the point where he even is training with the guy who beat him twice in Alexander Usyk. He's training with him. Eddie Hearn even said that Joshua was going to go train for only 2 weeks, and then he just never came back home because he just, he just stayed with them and he locked in with them, and they found a flow together. And he's been training with Alexander Usyk and his team ever since like November of last year. So this fight would still, even to this day, even though they're not champion, even though they're both not world champions, even though both of them are not undefeated, even though both of them are not in their primes, even though they're not in the point which we really, really were asking and begging for this fight was still, even today, be one of, if not the biggest fight in British boxing history. Not just British heavyweight boxing, but British boxing in general. It would probably be the biggest in history. And it would be one of the biggest fights in general in boxing to make right now. You know? So I think, I don't care. Like, yes, it sucks we're not getting them in the prime. It sucks that we're not getting them when they were world champions. It sucks when they're not undefeated or whatever. But it would suck a lot more if I get old and I'm like, these fools never fought, and we will always have that question mark in our mind of who would have won. Would have AJ would have won? Would Fury would have won? We'll never know now. So I would love to see them fight. But and believe me, I hate doing this. I hate tune-up fights. I hate warm-up fights and pre-fight fights. But I just think that this has to happen. This is the one of the very few times where, in my opinion, there needs to be a pre-fight before they fight. Um, for those who don't know, it was rumored back in December/January that they were going to fight, but that they wanted, Tyson Fury and his team wanted a warm-up match. So they were going to go look for an opponent to get Fury back in the ring and get him warmed up, and if he won, he'll be ready for Joshua. So Joshua and Matchroom had the same idea of like, okay, if he's gonna do that, I'm gonna go do that. I've also been out of the ring for a long time, and the last time I was in the ring, I lost. I should probably get a warm-up fight. He fights Jake Paul for $50 million, easy money, breaks his jaw, but unfortunately, what ruins the plans is the crash, the unprecedented and sad ending of the lives of two of Joshua's friends in a car crash in Africa. Left Joshua having to do recovery. Nothing too serious, but he had to be a couple of months in recovery due to the crash. So that put a stump on him getting a fight at the same time that Fury was going to fight Makhmudov. So now Fury got his fight off against a good opponent, a good professional heavyweight opponent, but Joshua hasn't because of the car crash. So in my opinion, Joshua still needs that warm up. I don't count Jake Paul as that warm up. Whoever does is fucking stupid. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Joshua needs an actual Makhmudov level opponent to get in the ring with, implement what he's been training for, and get the ring rust out and get a victory before getting in the ring with Tyson Fury. Now, Fury stated that he doesn't want to fight anybody. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody if it isn't Joshua. That he wants Joshua. He doesn't care about Wardley. He doesn't care about Dubois. He doesn't care about Itama. He only gives a fuck about Anthony Joshua. Meaning that's all he wants this year. So it could still happen while Joshua has a fight. So Joshua could fight in the middle to end of summer against, preferably, in my thoughts, against Deontay Wilder. That's another big heavyweight fight, big mega fight that the fans have been asking for to have between Joshua and Wilder. We've been asking for years and it just never happened. So it'd be a good fight. Wilder just had a comeback fight against Chisora. He looked like shit, but he looked better than he normally does, and he came out with the victory. Why not fight Wilder? Get 2 fights in 1 year that we've been begging for. They're both big money fights. One of them is more of a warm up than the other. And then if you beat Wilder and Fury in 1 year, in the same year, 2027 looks like an actual candidate. Like Joshua could actually enter 2027 for a world title shot, in my opinion. If he could beat Wilder in the summer, late summer, early fall, and then beat Fury in the winter, like around late November to December, then I don't see why not give him a title shot. One last, reach for the stars before he officially retires. And, he'll be closing off all the checkbooks. Like, I got in there with Wilder, people have been begging that. I got in there with Fury, people have been begging that. There's nothing else for Joshua to do now other than beat those 2 guys, try for a world title. Those are literally the only 3 things left for Joshua to do in his career. Defeat Deontay Wilder, defeat Tyson Fury, and try again at least 1 time for the world championship belt. And if he can't win it, or if he does win it, then good for him. But I personally think he needs to get an in-between fight, and I think there's no better opponent to be that in-between fight, that warm-up match, than Deontay Wilder. Beat him in the summer, and then we could do it in the late fall, early winter against Tyson Fury. And we could have that big mega fight in Wembley Stadium. But that's just my humble opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much. Thank you for being patient. Like I said, I'm sorry that, guys. I told you fools I was going to give you guys a video on Friday, and I just didn't. I just couldn't, though. Not that I didn't want to. I just couldn't. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be more frequent with the videos, and I will. I promise you guys, I'm working on another video right now. But thank you for clicking on this one. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch it. And as always, have a good one. God bless.